Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Coming out of the shower. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would die. I would have to totally sell the house and move.
You know, I rewatched a movie last night called The Others. Yes,
It's a good movie. I
it
like
is. Are they going to do a prequel to it? They're doing a prequel to everything, or should we call it an origin story?
I think it'd be more origin story, probably.
Yeah. Yes. All right, so everyone, we're just waiting for them to send up a jury panel, and it'll probably be maybe 10 because they have to swear in the panel and everything. So
Dismissed.
Works for me.
Judge, your docket is moving. Dismissed.
Justin, I'm gonna go to my reports real quick and be back,
Sure.
because I'm CTG and I don't think it's going anywhere, but I'll be back.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
See you all soon.
Be back soon. You could try it, might not be back for a while.
That's really good.
Oh, cold water enhancer? Oh, so what do you do with it?
You put it in the water.
All right, peach and passion fruit. I have to look at the calories.
5.
Okay, it's 5 calories. I think I guess if I can't spare 5 calories, I'll be the first to open it. Oh my gosh, this doesn't smell like peach. All right, we're gonna see what happens. But Sean, if anything happens to me, tell my mom that Deputy Laura gave me something to put in my water to infuse it. Hey, if it tastes great, I'm gonna let my mom know.
Gabriel Gomez.
Mhm.
He wants to rescind that signature. He does not want to be extended, and the officer said that she would have things in the supplemental report too.
Okay. All right, let me see what's going on.
Okay.
Morning, Judge.
Yes.
This one for you, please.
Thank you very much. How's your day going?
It's getting started. To restart my computer 4 times already.
Ah.
I brewed a cup of coffee and plan to come visit y'all then.
Oh, so today is Men's Health for Wellness. They're having an event at 1615 Sherman. All right, so they're having an issue with the museum they're bringing to San Antonio. Oh, see, okay, so here's the thing. According to what I'm reading, the Alamo Museum is under construction, but no one is allowed to talk about it, about what's going to be. Hmm? Yeah, nobody's allowed to talk about it. You're just going to see it when it's done. They're under a non-disclosure agreement.
Any of it.
Yes. So my question is, who's paying for the Alamo Museum construction? But yeah. And there's a controversy.
But nobody can talk about it.
They cannot talk about it. So they're saying, but so far they say the museum is supposed to cover a 300-year time span, but it's only going to talk about 1836. Look, I see the quizzical expression.
That 1 year does not.
Are we certain that there's more? Yeah. Yeah. And it's $25 million. And someone said the focus needs to stay on the Battle of 1836, but it spans 300 years. Deputy Law, I'm going to see if this is good. It's good. Let's bring in something to the party. It didn't show up empty-handed. You know what? If I didn't already have the 0-calorie tea in here, that would be very good. Let me see. I'm gonna have to get this. Peach and passion fruit enhancers. Where might I pick this up? Oh, okay. HEB is bringing it. I'm gonna have to get some for my mom. Hello, hi.
So you're mixing it.
Yes, I am. Well, I couldn't throw out the other part of the drink. See at the back if they can bring me a file. Hi, this is Stephanie Boyd. Could you bring me a file? It's 2022 4340. It's Robert Solis. All right, everyone in the box, your attorneys will probably be here about 9:40 because they are swearing the jury in downstairs. They have to qualify them and then they'll be up here. So the jury will probably be lined up about 10. Brandon Sierra. Thank you. Willie Fields. Willie Damone Fields. Alejandro, Raymond Alejandro. Okay. Arwan Bawani. Thank you. Arturo Campos. Thank you. David Hancock. Thank you. Joe Hernandez Jr. Thank you. And then Mark Ives in federal custody. All right, let me get the file and we will see. All right, I'll just have a seat. Yes, Hancock is June 17th. David Hancock. All right, your case was reset for June 17th. All right, and you'll be brought over on that day dressed for trial. Ah. Morning. Yes.
Joe Hernandez Jr.
I see the file on Joe Hernandez Jr.
Yes.
Joe Hernandez Jr. All right, if you can come down, please. All right, your case has been dismissed. I don't know what brought you before me today, but whatever is going on in your life, you may need to make some corrections so you don't end up here again. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good luck to you.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
The video is off. I don't know why that keeps doing that. What's done? And was Willie Fields, is he in custody or on bond? Did I see the file on Willie Demond Fields? And then this one's done.
I can't even look right.
But Anthony Zamora is supposed to be here today to talk about that. He said that he was getting sentenced this morning. Oh, Fields is in federal custody? Sylvia, yeah, do you practice in federal court? Can you look somebody up and tell me where they are in the system over there? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Is it in the Western District,
I'm unsure.
like San Antonio?
Yes. I used to have access to it. Okay. You know, I jinxed myself because I had stopped receiving spam. Now it's back. Oh, would you give this name to Sylvia?
Sure.
Do you have a name?
Yes. No, thank you. And Vashon, on the motion, well, the request for early termination on Alexander Streeter. I'm going to deny it, but if he wants to have a hearing on it, we can have a hearing on it and I'll look into it more.
Oh, I found them, Judge.
Yes,
Would you like me to just tell you?
yes.
Yes, so there's an order for his final revocation hearing on a supervisor release, and it's set for 6/25/24 at 1:30 before Judge Xavier Rodriguez.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So Norma, let's place this in July. And put it towards the end of July because they'll need time to bring him. Thank you, Sylvia. Let's do August 1st.
May I give you this?
Oh, sure.
A case number.
Okay.
If you could just send this. For future reference.
All right, thank you so
And it
much.
did ask me, and it was unusual because it's an 11 case, like 2011.
Mhm.
This defendant has many entries and it could take a long time. So I just asked for the past week, 90 days, and it goes on and on. So I think it just was going to be a very long report. Okay. I just went to the current one.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
He's here. He's here. He's been here since last week. Okay. Just doesn't.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have over 900 people.
You say the top- it's a top, it's just-
They're lost.
But my friend, he just said that they. That is a truth, but we can request him.
Well, that'll be fun. Thank you.
And could you pull this file from me?
And I have the order of appointing you gave me on Jerry Ortiz, because you emailed me a PDF of that, but I need Abel Martinez, which I haven't seen that attached yet.
The computer second.
Thank you so much. Okay, so. Oh, I got really lucky. So I just need to tell him, you can go. Oh, he came out, you already told him, Judge?
Yes.
He already came out?
Who? Yeah.
Oh. Oh. I didn't see him. Okay, so you heard. We got rid of some. Something was wrong. Wow. Have a lovely day.
Yeah. Have a lovely day.
Oh, I'm gonna wait for some order appointings from Norma. Yay. I didn't see that coming. Status was the case that I kept telling him and again.
Guess we're the one. You are always number one.
Zach,
Yes.
you're supposed to do that.
Why is
I
family over there
like it.
violence?
Yeah, she can, I'll upload it right now. It's just gonna be all the notes, so they'll be able to.
You got it.
Okay.
Hey, Zach was never on this case. Don't you dare look at Zach.
He's ready. Zach's
I'm ready to get.
Zach's more ready.
I'm gonna just give it to you yesterday. Yeah. So, I'll make a second. Like, just trying to get those pictures. I have no idea what was going on.
Yeah, the funny is Zach has.
Dude.
Hey, personality. Okay.
One more. Yes, good morning.
Arun Bawani?
Hmm?
I'm Arun Bawani, I believe the schedule is dismissal.
Thank you. Could I see the file on Bawani? Mr. Bawani, if you'll come forward. All right. Mr. Bawani, all the cases that appear before me, everyone is presumed to be innocent. The state has tendered a dismissal. So whatever brought you to court, make sure that you don't place yourself in any situations that will bring you back. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And thank you for always dressing appropriately for court. All right. Have a great day. Okay.
Old visitor. See you later.
Some of them were actually good wrestlers.
That was this guy was.
No, no.
He should have been. Should have been.
I'll see you guys. Thank you all.
Bye. Hi.
Got it. But now.
Yes.
Got dismissed, got a recent July, right?
Mhm.
That's negative.
Sure. And actually, Willie feels it's August 1st.
August 1st. Thank you.
Yeah. And then, yeah, that's it for you all.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Have a great day. Hope you get a chance to walk along the river. Yeah. Can you mute us, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so parties, you're okay with 30 minutes each?
30, 20, 10.
All right, 20.
No, what are you doing? Be quiet, Zach.
She wasn't even, like, there's a good joke and it was
Just
lost.
say-
My audience doesn't even care.
Okay. All right. Yes. So each side will have 30 minutes.
Sorry? Yes, they're out there right now.
And Sylvia, the way we do jury selection in here is I'll give a brief introduction and then general and specific at the same time. And you don't need to strike a juror in front of the panel. After selection is finished, the jurors will be sent back outside. And then what will happen is you all can see what you can agree on and what you can't agree on. I'll make a ruling on. All right. Sure.
Was this you, Jack?
Okay, sure. All right, no problem. Okay. Okay.
She can bring
Thank
it in
you.
herself through the complainant because she lived that experience. So she's the one that can best say what she said.
Oh, sure. If you want a 5-minute warning, I'll give it to you. Sure. You're welcome.
I was
Yes.
trying to get it through, I was gonna try and get it through to detective. Because they at least know that it.
Sure. Okay, sure.
I'm sure if she
Sure,
remembers
no problem.
the exam.
I mean, she doesn't, she should remember at least how. That's.
Yes. We're doing this in federal testing.
Yeah, we know that. He's coming back on August 1st. Thank you. Yeah. We'll see. Okay. All right. Thank you. So Matthew, are you in trial?
No, that one fell through, so.
Yeah. See y'all back at 1:30. We'll see what happens.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, no problem.
She could sit in that chair back there
Okay.
if she wanted to. It's you.
Okay.
We have a chair.
Yeah.
We're ready to pitch whenever.
All right, so she has an attorney who's coming over to help her with selection. Yeah.
We're waiting for one attorney.
And State, you have your witnesses for today.
Yes, just a.
Okay. All right, so depending on when we finish, I will give,
Lunch.
I'll give them a lunch. And then we'll probably come back at maybe 2:00.
Okay.
Yes,
Sounds great.
yes. So we'll see how long this takes.
Awesome.
Another attorney for her.
Christopher Ramos. We're waiting on him.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good to see you.
You too?
I'm just gonna talk.
All right. Great.
I'm back in my house 2 weeks.
Oh.
It's still a mess.
Uh,
Once you get back in, things are still in the box.
oh, that's good. I'm not home yet.
How long?
Maybe till the end of July,
But how long is it?
August.
So we gotta-
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
should have stayed out.
Well, my issue is there's an issue with materials. So, yeah.
We're different people. And I look at it like it was a break. It ended up being, I didn't recognize.
Oh, yeah.
That's-
Oh, my mom keeps telling me that. And she said, consider it your vacation home. So when I do make it back home, I'm going to leave for work and come back and say, wait a minute, why isn't my bed made? Who didn't clean the? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's like catchy attitude. You try to catch on.
Okay, awesome. Yes.
Yeah. So in this case.
Yes, February 2025.
Juror number 1 has a walker, so we're gonna walk her.
If you
through the
talk
food.
to Ally,
Walk her with a walk.
we can see if we can do that. What I did is could you pull the
Okay.
file on Mark
Well,
Ivy?
as interns, you guys would go get a chair from the office and you guys could sit back there somewhere. Okay, thank you. We don't have a spot at all. Like,
And I'll tell you what the new date is, and if you want to, let me see. Oh, I didn't give it a date because I was waiting for you. So what I'll do is we'll set it and you can speak to Ally about whether or not they're going to ask for a bench warrant. The problem is usually on the federal side, they won't honor it.
And I'm letting you.
Oh, no. Yeah.
So I'm gonna. That I had with my.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the.
Everything will be so colorful.
Mhm.
Waiting and then it's like.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna
Oh,
have her
yes.
walk through here, just go sit number 1, and then everybody else could just go this.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it for August 1st and we'll see where we are. Although I know they said he's not being sentenced till February.
Oh, Chris Ron,
Mhm.
okay.
How
long
Oh, no problem. I mean, we can't do anything with him in federal custody. So,
Not here.
all right, that's going to be recalled for August 1st.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Have a great one.
All right, you too.
And you guys are fine against that wall too,
Sure.
interns.
Oh, hi. Welcome.
The hallway is pretty hot.
Ah,
It is one.
all right. So is he coming from a long distance?
Just right there in the 227 up on the same floor.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
227?
Yeah, wait,
That's 227.
that's right, I came, that's right, that way.
All right.
Yeah, so I wonder if he's before the judge right now,
Okay.
because he's not.
Sure. If you want to. Yeah.
He's in QC.
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't have to follow on.
Okay. Oh, you did? Oh, let me see. I'm still waiting for Vashon to show me her dress. She still hasn't. Oh, it's beautiful. What's the name of the show?
Say yes to the dress.
So are we saying yes to the dress? Okay, I love it. I can see on your expression, it's the one. Oh, I like it. It fits you beautifully.
Thinking I don't know anything that you're about to say.
Yeah. Oh, that is beautiful. I love it.
Like,
To have a.
Mhm. Oh, yes. You gotta be able to move and be able to eat nice food. There's nothing worse than spending so much for each plate, and then it's like, I can't eat.
Straight to Florida. Straight to Universal Studios. Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's on vacation.
Ah.
Judge Mejia is on his way to Florida.
Yeah.
To Universal
new attorney?
Studios.
What are you gonna be doing at Universal Studios?
She like my.
Is that where Harry Potter is?
It is.
Will you stop by Harry Potter? All right, will drink some butter beer for me? Which is not real beer.
You're going here? Who's going? Are you? It's like a
It's
cream
really
soda.
fun.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I'm not even a theme park person. I have class.
So Universal Studios is the way to go.
It is.
Because my brother tells me it's too early for me to take my niece to someplace like that. She's only 2, but I'm like
Yeah,
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not gonna remember. My son doesn't even remember. I'm listening to you.
Does your son really not remember, or you really did not take him?
No, he went to Disney.
Remember when I was 2, I don't remember.
See, I may be able to save money by telling her, excuse me, I'm the one who took you.
Wait till she's like 7.
Well, where are the pictures? I don't know. Talk to your parents.
So this one here, I'm sure.
Okay.
That's the one I said that she needs to resend. She doesn't want these.
Okay.
I know, you don't want to put this screen up there?
Okay.
I was gonna do it the last second.
Oh, yeah, but I put,
No time like present.
Oh, so you, okay, well, let me talk to her. She wants to,
yeah, I mean, isn't that mine?
yeah,
Send it with the,
I'm just gonna put it in.
okay,
Well, I'll check with her.
okay.
Okay. Yes, he's right at the back.
Oh, okay.
Look like he was almost at the end.
All right.
You just what? Close up that door.
So if anyone needs to use the restroom, now is the time.
Oh, Judge, you know I'll go about 4 more times before. I have to stand up.
Judge, juror number 1 has a walker, so we're gonna walk her right through the middle.
Okay.
To that area, and then everybody else.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go on the record. Court is calling 2022 CR 1442, State of Texas versus Brandon Sierra. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state
Zach Dunn, Margie Helmo, and Ally Jackson for the state.
and for the defense?
So we can also for Mr. Brandon's there.
And,
And it'll also be in Mr.
all right. And so it's the court's understanding that the defense, if Mr. Sierra were found guilty, the defense has chosen the jury for punishment. Is that correct? And the defendant has applied for community supervision. Is that correct?
That's
All right. So each side is agreed to 30 minutes each. And I will give each a 5-minute warning if that's what you wish.
Awesome.
All right. Any other questions?
No questions?
All right. So we're going to wait for co-counsel and then we'll bring the jurors in.
Wonderful. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
We just got one. That's perfect.
Okay, I've started reading this book.
I have it on my list. How is it so far?
So far, it is very good. And it's an instant #1 New York Times bestseller. I don't know. Was it an instant #1? I don't know. But it's very
It's very
good.
good.
Yes.
You haven't read the other one, Ally?
I
That
have it
one
by
is
my
a
bed.
fast read.
I know,
It
I
really
have
is
it
a
on my
fast
bed.
read, that
Yeah, your
one.
turn.
It's a fast. Cause it keeps you going. And going, and like, you just go.
I'm such a mood reader sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, I can read this or this.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I'm reading 3 books at once.
Anna does that. will listen to an audiobook, keep reading a physical book, and then she's reading War and Peace,
Mhm.
but she's basically just reading a chapter a day.
Oh, she should watch I read War and Peace, but she should watch the movie. The movie is actually great. It's the version with who's in it? I think Marlon Brando is in it and Hepburn. Yeah. So it's very good. I remember watching that. Maybe I was 4 and my grandmother had it on. I would take my nap. I would wake up like, this is a long movie. It's still going. They don't do movies like that anymore, but it even had an intervention. And it really doesn't focus on Napoleon so much. Like Napoleon is there in the background. But it was in the 50s and Mel Ferreira was in it. Maybe I'm truly not 100% sure if Marlon Brando was in it. I know Henry Fonda was in it, I think.
Did you want them to go to the restroom or just leave them there? They're 20 minutes.
Yeah, tell if anybody needs to use the restroom, let them use the restroom.
Minutes
Yes.
in the hallway is hot.
Okay. Oh gosh, yeah. Ah,
Then I got things for civil. And the civil courthouse, where is here, and then I went up to my office, and brought my pen over.
oh, I can't even imagine. Hi.
Well, you're also not Crystal Mose.
Juror number 1.
Well, we were told she had a walker, so you've got a couple things going against you right now.
Hi. All right, everyone, I will be right back.
No. Oh, I can't.
I just wanted to check. Okay. Same things.
Of course.
I realize that's last minute.
No.
We were here.
Well, I think Sylvia was back there and tried to talk about.
Okay.
Where's Zach?
It's hot out there.
You'll be fine.
Can you tell when I take these now? Where's the phone? Where's Bob?
Rise for the jury.
No, 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 come on with your chair. Have you sit. You're the number one. So we're gonna put it here. You're sitting on that side. Number one. Right over here, first row, flipping chair. And just have the number, follow her.
This operation, I have everybody at the first row to stand up when they talk, even if it's a yes or a no or a number.
Number 8.
So that everybody can hear. And
Second row?
I don't move, I stay right there. Just don't talk.
Well, we'll stand probably in the well, but I won't, if they can't.
15. Number 15 on the bench. 22. Ready? Okay, just follow your numbers, sir. 37. 51. We'll be needing the number.
All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, everyone, good morning. Okay, that is like so weak. It's not even, that late in the morning. Good morning, everyone. All right, I am Judge Stephanie Boyd. You are in the 187th District Court on the 4th floor. So what is my name? People always trail off when I ask that. So which court are you in? And which floor? Now you're probably asking me or thinking to yourself, why is she asking us that? We know where we are. The reason why I always ask that question is based upon experience. Sometimes we will take breaks, and then when people go on breaks, they will get lost. We've had people who've gone to different jury panels and tried to do jury selection there. And then some people will say, I didn't know where to go. I woke up and everybody was gone. So if you're ever lost, if you remember the 187th District Court, someone will be able to tell you where it is. If you remember the 4th floor, at least you'll be closer to the 187th District Court. And if you remember the last name Boyd, I'm the only Judge Boyd in the entire courthouse, so they'll be able to direct you here. So you are in a criminal district court. I'm going to let the parties introduce themselves to you for the state.
My name is Zach Dunn. Good morning, everyone, and these are my co-counsel.
I'm Margie Hilmo.
Allie Jackson.
And for the defense,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sylvia Cavazos. I will have a partner who's in a different court right now, Christopher Rommers, and my client, Brandon Sierra.
right. And then we do have some people here who are here to observe. We have interns, of course. And then the person who's seated here is with Mr. Sierra. If you'll state your name, please. All right. Thank you. All right. Does anyone recognize any of those parties who were just introduced to you? All right. So you have something in your possession that is very valuable. They're cards with a number on it. Whenever you are answering a question, or if you have something you wish to say, raise the card, and then either party will call out your number. And then when they call out your number, you can answer. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
All right. So this case, the charge is count 1, sexual assault of a child. Count 2, sexual assault of a child. Count 3, indecency by contact and count 4 indecency by contact. I'm going to talk to you more about that as I speak to you, and both parties will have a chance to address that with you as well. Now, I know sometimes when people come to court and they're coming for a jury trial, they think to themselves, why can't I get a traffic ticket? Why can't I get a fender bender? Well, here's the thing. We all need jurors to sit on jury trials. And in these courts, there are many cases that we have for jury trial. There are different type of cases. Sometimes they're drug cases, sometimes they're theft cases. Now, when both parties speak to you, when I speak to you, we're only going to be able to speak to you in hypotheticals. Neither the state, the defense, nor myself will tell you what we think the facts of this case are. Does everyone understand? So when they're talking to you, don't be thinking, oh, this is about Mr. Sierra. Because in a way it's not, because they're just giving you hypotheticals. You will only know about this case and what both parties thinks the facts will be about this case if you're on the jury. Does everyone understand? Now, I want to talk to you about indictments. In in state court, the way cases are brought for trial is through an indictment. How many people, practice raising your cards, how many people have ever had a traffic ticket? All right, the trend continues with bad drivers in San Antonio. Ah, 13 and 14. Have you all had traffic tickets? Okay. All right. So when you're given a traffic ticket, I've had one traffic ticket in all of my lifetime, which is great because I'm only 21. So we don't want to. Yeah. All right. So I've had one traffic ticket in my entire life. So when I received a traffic ticket, that was back the day where the officers had the paper book and they would write on it and then they give you the paper ticket. So now my understanding, they do something different. So let's assume hypothetically that an officer pulls you over for not abiding by a yield sign, which a lot of people in San Antonio don't know what the yield sign is for. So we'll go with that. So they pull you over and they give you a ticket. And the officer on the ticket lets you know, I'm pulling you over because you didn't abide by the yield sign. And on that ticket, it'll tell you what court you need to be at. Normally it's the municipal court on Frio, and they'll tell you what they think you've done wrong. You accept that ticket. When you accept that ticket, you're not agreeing with the officer. Yeah, I didn't abide by the yield sign. That ticket is just to give you notice of what the officer is saying they think you did and where you need to appear if you want to go to trial. Does everyone understand? So it is not evidence of guilt. It's not evidence of anything. It's the same thing with an indictment. With an indictment, it's just to let a person know, this is what you're being charged with. This is where you need to appear for trial. Does everyone understand? So an indictment is not evidence of guilt. It's not evidence of anything. And if you were on this jury, you cannot consider it as evidence whatsoever. Does everyone understand? Is there anyone who cannot do that? All right, you need to turn your number around. All right, 49. Anyone else? 38. All right. The next thing I want to talk to you about, I'm sorry, 52. The next thing I want to talk to you about is talking. If you're in the box, you don't need to stand when you speak because the court reporter will be able to hear you. If you're on this front row, you won't need to be able to stand because the court reporter can hear you. Everyone else, if you're not on those 3 rows, that means in the jury box or the first people on this first row, we're going to need you to stand when you speak so that the court reporter can hear. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
All right. So far, no jury panel has been able to follow that rule. but I have faith that you all will be able to do it. Now, there are certain rights that people have when they're charged with an offense. One of them is the right to remain silent. Has everyone heard of that?
Yes.
All right. So I've been a defense attorney, I've been a prosecutor, and there are many reasons why someone may not testify. I've had clients before where I told them, you don't need to testify, the state didn't prove their case. I've had clients before who've been super nervous, and I've told them, you're super nervous. I understand why you're nervous, but it probably wouldn't be good for you to testify because a juror may think you're super nervous, therefore you did it. Sometimes you have people who stutter or they just don't feel comfortable speaking. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
So there are a whole host of reasons why someone may not testify. And sometimes people will say, well, if I were charged with something, I would testify. I'm sure you all have heard that. And I always think in my mind, yeah, you say that now because you're maybe are not charged with anything. But once you are charged with something, you may have different feelings. And your attorney who does this all the time may tell you, yeah, I know you want to testify, but the state hasn't proved their case. There's no need for you to testify. So that is a right that everyone who is charged with an offense has. Now, you may be like Mrs. Kravitz in Bewitched. Well, I want to know what's going on. That's fine if you're not in the court of law. But when you're in the court of law, everyone has a right to remain silent. Is there anyone here who's going to hold it against Mr. Sierra if he decides not to testify? All right. The next thing I want to talk to you is about presumption of innocence. Everyone is presumed to be innocent when they're charged, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. For example, that traffic ticket, when you're going to trial, you presume that you didn't do it. Criminal cases, it's presumed that you didn't do it. You're presumed to be innocent. Does everyone understand? Right. So a person is presumed to be innocent. So right now, you have not heard any evidence in this case. If you had to vote on whether or not Mr. Sierra is guilty or not guilty, what should your vote be? All right. Is there anyone here who cannot presume him innocent? All right, 49. All right, now I want to talk to you about burden of proof. So I tell you that Mr. Sierra is presumed innocent, and he is. And he's presumed innocent, and the only time that changes is only if the state is able to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's to each element in the offense. So what does beyond a reasonable doubt mean? What is the definition? My very first trial that I had as a defense attorney, you had to know the definition of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If you didn't know it, you felt like a failure. I still remember the definition. I remember where you pause for dramatic effect. I tried that case, and then guess what happened? Next case I tried, there is no longer a definition of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So neither the state nor the defense will be able to give you a definition of proof beyond a reasonable doubt because it no longer exists, the definition. Does everyone understand? So I had to figure out a way to explain it to jurors to make sure that they were holding the state to the appropriate burden. So next door, we have a courthouse that has the green rooftop. Hopefully you've seen it. It's the historic courthouse. Over there, they try civil cases. Now, the burden of proof over there is preponderance of evidence. Preponderance of evidence is sort of more likely than not something happened. That's what's used for car accidents, for things involving money. So if you're ever in a criminal court and you're on a jury and you're deliberating and you say to yourself, well, I think more likely than not this happened, so therefore the person is guilty. You know what you know? You are not at the right burden of proof because it's not a civil case. Does everyone understand? So if you're on a jury in in a criminal case or on this jury, and you're thinking to yourself, well, more likely than not, this happened, you know that you are not at the correct burden of proof, and that is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Does everyone understand? The other burden of proof on the civil side, which is the highest burden, is what's called clear and convincing evidence. That's the type of evidence the state must bring to terminate someone's parental rights. That's the evidence where someone says, you're not a good parent. We cannot trust you with your child. So therefore, we will no longer allow you to parent this child. That's their highest burden. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is the highest burden we have. Does everyone understand? Next, I want to talk to you about range of punishment. So in this case, the range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
All right. So the other potential punishment range is probation. Now, this is what I want to tell you. You don't know any of the facts of this case. Mr. Sierra is presumed to be innocent. So when I ask people if they can consider the full range of punishment, usually some people will say no, some people will say yes. Some people will say, well, I need some facts. You don't get facts, because if you got facts, what each party thought this case was about, then you would not be a fair and impartial jury. A fair and impartial jury is a jury that sits here and listens to evidence, receives it, and make a decision if they can. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
So in some sex cases, maybe you will have a sex case, and maybe you have someone who is 20, and maybe a person is 16. And that may be a case where you say, oh, well, I think maybe this is a probation case. Or you may say, oh, I think this case should be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 20 years. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
So there are different fact scenarios and different fact scenarios that you can think in your head, because we're only allowed to speak to you in hypotheticals at this time. So is there anyone here who cannot consider the full range of punishment? And when I say consider the full range of punishment, it's not give somebody 2 years. It's not give somebody probation. It's more along the lines, if you were to find somebody guilty, will you be able to look at facts that are presented to you and say, oh, well, this is a case where I've heard these facts, maybe probation is right, or maybe 2 years is right, maybe 3 years is right, all the way up to 20 years. Is there anyone here who cannot consider the full range of punishment? All right. 2, 15, 18, 25, 34. When I call your number, please put your card down. 37, 38, 39. All right, so here's the thing, everyone. No trap door is going to open. Once I pass your row, I've passed your row. So I'm asking the question, everyone put your card down. Anyone who cannot consider the full range of punishment, and when I say consider it, I don't mean give it. I mean apply whatever facts are presented to you. If you were to find someone guilty, apply those facts or whatever facts that are presented to you and make a decision on punishment. That's the question. So is there anyone who cannot do that? Raise your card now. All right, 2, 9, 15, 18, 25, 34, 37, 38, 39, 40, 44, 45, 46, 47, 49, 53, 56, 57, 60, and 72. All right, the next thing I want to talk to you is about fairness. Because sometimes the state and defense will ask you, can you be fair in this type of case? Or is there anything about your background, that will cause you issues? As I said before, everyone has issues with specific types of cases. There are some people who say, you know what, I just can't sit on a theft case, or I can't sit on a burglary of a habitation case because my house was burglarized. And that's not really the question. The question is, whatever has happened to you in your past, are you able, if you are selected for this jury, to base a decision, if you can come to a decision, base a decision on the facts that you hear in this case, not what happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago, because both parties are entitled to a fair trial. And so what they want to know is, if you're selected for this jury, will you be able to listen to the facts in this case, regardless of whatever emotional impact it may have? Will you be able to listen to the facts in this case and base your decision on whether someone is guilty or not guilty, if you can come to the decision based upon the facts that you hear? That's what fairness is. Fairness is not, nothing bad has ever happened to me in my life. I come to you with a clean slate and I'm going to sit on this jury, because nobody comes that way. Everybody has probably had something bad to happen to them in their life. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
Does everyone understand what fairness means now?
Yes.
Is there anyone who cannot be fair if they were selected on this jury? All right, that's 2. All right, so here's the thing, everybody. Put your cards up. When I call your number, after I go past the row, I'm past the row. 1, 2, 9, 5, 6, 12, 15, 21, 26, 34, 37, 38, 39, 40, 45, 46, 49, 51, 60, and 72. All right, there are 2 phases to a jury trial. First phase is whether someone is guilty or not guilty. People will say that it's the innocence phase, and it's really not. The first phase is, did the state prove their case? Did they not prove their case? Is someone guilty or not guilty? Does everyone understand? Phase 2 is called the punishment phase. And you only get to phase 2 if you find someone guilty. The law says that someone who's charged with an offense must make an election or selection that if they were found guilty, who would they want to give them their punishment? The law says they must do that. By a person making that election or selection, they're not saying they're guilty. They're just following the law that says they have to make an election. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
In this case, Mr. Sierra has stated that if he were to be found guilty, he would want the jury to determine his punishment. Is there anyone going to hold it against him for making that election? All right, the next thing I want to talk to you about is languages. I love languages. I think they're beautiful. I'm from Louisiana, so of course, the language I picked to learn was where I was supposed to be retired to at 21, which was France. My friend said, Stephanie, we should take Spanish. I'm like, not going to Spain. I'm not going anywhere where there are Spanish speaking people. I'm doing my French. So lo and behold, life had other plans for me. I came to San Antonio and people were speaking Spanish. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Tanya, you were so right. I should have listened to you. So I speak French. I always lose it for a while. And then when I go to France, it ends up coming back to me. So is there anyone here where English is not your first language? Raise your card. All right, 1, 2, 4, 5, 16, 27, 34, 38, 42, 46, 54, 70, 71, and 72. Of those people who raised their card, is there anyone who has had any problems of following along with what I've talked about so far? Okay. Next thing I want to talk to you is about travel arrangements and time constraints. Both parties have told me they're expecting this trial to be completed by Friday. Is there anyone who has any type of time constraints? Maybe you have airline tickets to somewhere, you can't put them in my name. Is there anything of that nature? No time constraints. Now's this time to raise your card if you have them. All right, 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, 16, 17, 27, 35, 37, 38, 40, 49, 51, 61, 62, and 70. Number 2, what's your time constraint?
And I already have tickets for my vacation.
Where are you going? Where are you going? All right, and you say tickets? You're flying to El Paso? Okay. And when do you leave?
Friday,
Okay. What time?
1 o'clock.
All right, thank you. Number 4?
Leaving Friday at midday, but I'm driving to Macalester.
And what time?
12:30.
And so, sorry, where are you going?
My daughter leaves school to Macalester.
Okay, and why are you going to McAllen?
Oh, because my family lives there, and then my daughter is off, but I still work. So I think
Okay, so you're trailing off so the court reporter can't hear.
oh, I go there for childcare, so my mom can take care of my daughter's life.
All right, thank you. Number 5?
I'm just driving to Mexico
When?
tomorrow morning
For what purpose?
to leave my kids like the same.
Oh, so both of you all are just putting your children on the grandparents saying, thanks a lot. All right, thank you. Number 6?
My apologies. If it's only for travel, then doesn't apply to me.
No, what's your time constraint?
We have ongoing renovations happening at our house for the next 3 months, and I have to be there to speak to the contractors.
All right, and when is this?
It was mostly in the mornings up until about 3 to 4 in the afternoon.
All right, that renovation is not going to be done in 3 to 4 months, but okay.
We like it because
Number 9?
appointment tomorrow at 1:40 that was postponed, rescheduled.
Okay. All right, thank you. Number 16? Yes.
My daughter's traveling for work and I have to take care of my baby, my grandbaby.
Did she ask you beforehand or she just,
No, she did, it was in the calendar for that time,
all right, and so how old is your grandchild?
5 years.
And what time is this?
She's going to be gone until Friday night for business.
And when does she leave?
She's leaving tomorrow morning.
Okay. Thank you. And the 5-year-old can't take care of themselves. All right. Yeah. 17?
Trying to watch my granddaughter on Friday. Family have something to do.
All right. So when you say it's your turn to watch your granddaughter, who usually watches her?
It's me, my wife.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Number 27?
We're going to Mexico as well.
No. See, let me ask you this. Number 27, which row are you on? Yeah. All right, 27?
I was going to Mexico as well, but I get this home for Saturday.
All right, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to postpone that. Number 35.
Yes, Your Honor. Typically, I do watch my daughter during the day and I work nights. I believe I'll be rescheduling those things.
All right, thank you so much. Number 37. And what type of appointment is that? All right, thank you. Number 38. All right, usually mothers really don't want their children there. Are you sure she? So when is this? All right, and are you bringing children? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, number 40. And you're the only person?
I'm in town. I'm gonna start with that. So
Okay. All right, so you have to keep your voice up because court reporter can't hear.
And I'm the counsel for Jerry Switch. And
Okay. All right, thank you. 49.
Yes, I have a disabled husband and I'm on call.
I'm sorry?
I have a disabled husband,
Mm-hmm.
heart patient, his heart only functions 25%. He's got 5 stems, a defibrillator, so he's not in a good condition. And so I have to be on call in case he needs me. I have to go home.
All right, thank you. Number 42.
So I didn't read in the beginning. I thought about traveling on Friday. So tomorrow, the housing where I'm living, they are arranging a course for us. They require certain number to be at least 12. So I am already there. I want to attend. Please.
All right, so when is this happening?
Tomorrow.
What time?
It will be like 1 o'clock, 1 p.m.
All right. Thank you. I will tell you that when I went to Scotland, all of the guys wanted to go to the golf course and they needed a certain number to appear to go to the golf course. And you know what we told them? We're not going to the golf course. Y'all better find some numbers. But thank you. All right, 51.
Physical therapy for the next 5 weeks on Fridays at 2 p.m.
All right, thank you. 61. 61.
I have a mandatory lab for one of the programs I'm in for. It's not school, but it was a program I was admitted to. Accommodations can't be made for the lab, but it takes place between 1:30 and 4:30 every Thursday.
Thank you so much. Number 62.
I have a job interview tomorrow at 11.
Who are you interviewing with?
United.
All right. My mom always says if you have the interview, you usually have the job. No pressure. All right. Thank you. Number 70. For what purpose? What type of competition? Oh, do you do jujitsu? All right. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to tell you all 2 stories. Both of them are true. This is the first story. When we all went to law school, people think, you have a specific field that you want to go into. And so you gear all your courses towards that specific field. That's not really the way it works. But I always knew I wanted to practice criminal law. So on the criminal side, you're usually in trial. You're usually in court every day. On the civil side, no disrespect to civil attorneys. Sometimes they're in trial. Usually it's a lot of paper. So one of my friends decided they wanted to do civil work. I always wanted to do criminal work. We didn't get a chance to talk to each other a lot because on the civil side, usually you're tied to your desk a lot. So she was called up for jury duty. And she called me and she said, Stephanie, I've been called up for jury duty. Let's do lunch. I'm like, great, let's do lunch. So I'm picking my own jury trial and she's on another panel. And we meet for lunch. And I ask her, how is jury selection going? And she said, it's going fabulous. Now that I'm a judge, I think back on it, how could it have been fabulous? You were not with me, right? So I say, what do you mean it's going fabulous? What's going on? And she said, I'm not going to be selected for the jury. And I'm like, why are you assuming that? She says, because it's like when we're in law school, I'm on the back row, I'm keeping my head down, I'm not saying anything. And I start laughing hysterically. And she said, what's so funny? I said, we're going to get to have lunch all week because you're going to be selected. So I tell that story because both the defense and the state, they don't have, 10 days to get to know each of you individually. They have a limited amount of time to speak to you. And it would help them a great deal to make sure that everybody has a fair trial if you talk to them. When they speak to you, it's not their intent to embarrass anybody. It's just that they're trying to find out information and they're trying to find it out in the limited time they have. They're going to be calling you by your numbers and not by your names just because it's easier for them. Some people can memorize everybody's name, look at a sheet of paper, but these attorneys cannot do that. So do not be offended when they speak to you by number. The other thing I'm going to talk about is my uncle. So I always tell people jury selection. I know sometimes people don't want to be called up for jury selection, but you know what? It's just an inconvenience. And why is it an inconvenience? It's an inconvenience because you have to pay for parking. If I could, I would pay for everybody's parking who's for jury duty. Not allowed to do that. They don't have free parking for you. So I'm sure in your mind, you're thinking, I'm coming down here to help you out and you all are charging me for parking. Then for people who are not downtown on a regular basis, somebody had the bright idea to put a bunch of one-ways because they say that makes traffic flow better, and it really doesn't. So maybe your day is starting off bad because you're driving and you finally see the building where you're supposed to be, and you can't make that right turn because it's a one-way. And then you have to go back around the circle and pray that somebody lets you over and they're being kind today. And then once you're able to find the parking garage, you look at your watch and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to run because they say to be here at 8. And then when you get at 8, you realize 8 is for them to speak to you. And you're like, I should have just strolled over. And then you have to wait outside and there's not enough benches, which I've tried to get that changed, but it's not in the county budget for benches. And maybe it's too hot. These are all inconveniences. So I'm going to talk to you about my uncle so I can tell you what a sacrifice is. My uncle grew up in a small town called Grand Cane, Louisiana. Population extremely small. All the teachers knew every single student. And he was super intelligent. When they started with computers, he knew them before it was even a regular thing to have a laptop or have a computer in your house. Well, when he was in school, the teacher would skip him in grades because they'd say, we've taught you all that we can teach you. So he graduates from high school. Vietnam War breaks out. He goes to my grandmother. He's my grandmother's firstborn child. He goes to her and he says, I want you to sign for me to go to Vietnam because they're drafting all the boys here in Grand Cane anyway. And it's the way that I can improve my lot in life, joining the military. So I want you to think about that for a moment. One, my grandmother did sign for him, but that's a firstborn child. And mothers and fathers, you know how you feel about your firstborn child. Back in those times, my grandmother had a phone, and that's the phone where you pick it up and the operator answered, and that's the only way you can dial out. That's why you have that song, Beechwood 45789. You pick it up, and I know some of the people here, you know what I'm talking about. Nobody knew. My grandmother didn't know where Vietnam was, never heard of it. She had a television, black and white, picked up 3 channels. And I'm being generous when I say 3 channels because, you know, it had the rabbit ears on it. NBC would only work if the weather was perfect. And that includes the sun had to be just right in the sky. Otherwise, you're fumbling around with the rabbit ears, putting aluminum foil on it, trying to pick it up. And the way young people are used to television 24 hours a day, news 24 hours a day, that didn't happen then. What would end up happening is if it was, very high tech, you would know that the channel would be about to end because they start playing the national anthem and they would leave the flag on there just blowing in the wind. But before they did that, the TV would just go out and you just have white noise. So when her son, my uncle, who's since passed, when he went to Vietnam, they give you his name, they give you his military number, you send that letter off and you wait for months and months to get it back. So you can't do an email and say, did you arrive safely where you're supposed to be? You just wait for the letter. So that's a sacrifice. So when I tell people, when you're up here for jury duty and you're like, I don't want to be here. When you think about it, your government only asks for two things of you: pay your taxes and serve on jury duty. And when they call you up for jury duty, they don't even call you up once a month. How many people, this is your first time being called up for jury duty? That's what I mean. So I want you to remember that when you answer the questions from everybody. All right. So I'm going to turn it over to the state. State is going to have 30 minutes to speak to you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Zach Dunn, and this is Margie Hilmo. This is my partner. We're going to be the people you hear from the most. Allie is here as another member of the office in case one of us have other commitments. You'll see that even, and the judge will get to this later too, if you're chosen, people come in and out of these doors all the time for other court business. So things are always evolving, things are always moving on top of this trial. And with that, in case you ever see one of us on our phones, this is absolutely with counsel as well, coordination with witnesses or with co-counsel or with partners. We're only trying to make sure that we keep things running as smoothly as possible. So if you see us pick up our phones, again, on both sides, we're usually just trying to grind, get some work in and make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. So those are some of the administrative things, especially for you first timers. It's such a serious matter. We're going to get into that, but I like to start things off with something a little bit lighter. Has anyone ever seen the Bee movie, the Seinfeld Bee movie? Yeah, some heads raising. Yeah, placards. There's a few of you. Okay. Not the best movie, but go with me here. There's a side character in the movie. He's not a bee. He's the one mosquito in the movie. Okay. And the mosquito's dream is to be an attorney. Okay. And so the whole movie goes by and you don't see this side character. And at the very end, you see him. He's got his suit on. He's got his little briefcase, and all the bees are like, "Hey, mosquito side character. We know you wanted to be an attorney. We haven't seen you the whole movie. I mean, what happened? Did you become an attorney?" And the mosquito's like, "Well, yeah." He was like, "Well, I was already a blood-sucking parasite. All I needed was a briefcase." You guys are great. So again, my name is Zach Dunn, and Margie, of course, is my co-counsel. The goals, as Judge kind of briefly spoke about, we just want fair and impartial jurors for this case. So I may post some hypotheticals. I may put a question out there. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and there's no right or wrong answers. Just talk with me. That's all I ask. I'm just trying to get to know you each on an individual and a group level with the time, the 30 minutes that I have. So we'll go through the 4 counts, and we'll just kind of talk about exactly why we're here. So count 1 is sexual assault of a child on or about February 13th, 2021. The defendant did intentionally and knowingly cause the sexual organ of Gabrielle Guerrero, a child younger than 17, to contact the sexual organ of the defendant. Okay, that's count number 1. There's going to be 4 counts total. Count number 2 is relatively similar. On or about January 30th, 2021, the defendant intentionally and knowingly caused the mouth of Gabrielle Guerrero, a child younger than the age of 17, to contact the sexual organ of the defendant. You have count 3, which is indecency with a child by contact. On or about February 13th, 2021, the defendant intentionally and knowingly engaged in sexual contact with a child younger than 17, Gabrielle Guerrero, by touching her breast with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person. And now we have count 4. On or about February 13th, 2021, the defendant intentionally and knowingly engaged in sexual contact with Gabrielle Guerrero, a child younger than 17, by touching part of her genitals with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person. Okay, so it's 2 counts of sexual assault with a child, count 1, count 2, and then count 3 and 4 are indecency with a child by contact. Okay, so far, again, I've just laid out the 4 counts, the allegations. Okay, let's go into the kind of the language you saw at the beginning of all 4 of those, right? Was on or about. Okay. The state of Texas and the laws that we operate under do not require the state to prove an exact date. All that is required under law is that it happened prior to the presentation to the grand jury. Can anyone think off the top of your head, particularly with alleged crimes against children, why would the state under law not have to prove to you an exact date? Are there any guesses as to why that might be the case? Juror number 25, what do you think?
Children under duress aren't gonna remember.
I'm sorry.
Children under duress aren't gonna remember exact dates, things like that.
Right, children under duress, like you said, may not remember exact dates. Anyone agree with that? Anyone think that sounds plausible? Juror, yes ma'am, what juror number are you? Juror number 13, what do you think about that? Maybe hard for kids to know dates, what do you think?
I agree with the gentleman that said.
Okay, absolutely. Anyone else have any other thoughts on that? Juror number 22, what do you think?
They don't really say it right when it happens.
Right.
Kind of prolong it and then they finally say it later on.
Right. Absolutely. So they may outcry and they may wait quite a while to outcry.
Correct.
Days, weeks, years. You would agree? Anyone else have any thoughts on that? Juror number 48.
Maybe too young. to know what they-
They may be too young, right? Absolutely, to know exactly. Maybe they were in a certain grade or at a certain time, but they may not know their exact age, the exact date. Juror number 50.
They're just afraid of say what happened because the parent, they think they're in control by the parents.
Sure. So juror number 50, you're saying they may delay, and that goes to kind of juror number 22, was it? Where they may outcry at a later in time. Okay, thank you, juror number 50. And then juror number, I apologize, you were juror number 28. What are your thoughts?
I just think it's hard to remember dates, period, when things happen on a specific date. I think it's
Agreed.
difficult for everybody.
Awesome. Thank you for I agree with that. Is there anyone here who would say, Zach, I hear you. I know the laws of Texas that everyone is operating under, but individual juror, I'm going to require you to prove an exact date. I don't care what anyone says. I need an exact date. Does anybody feel that way? Okay, we're all in agreement then, right? Okay, some head nods. I appreciate it. Absolutely. So sexual contact, again, those were the language you saw across that 4 indictments. Touching by any person, including the clothing, the anus, the breast, or any part of the genitals. That can be over the clothing, under, through. Let's talk about consent very briefly, okay? Under the law of Texas, children under the age of 17 cannot legally consent, period, full stop. Okay? Under the laws of the state of Texas, a child under the age of 17 cannot consent. Is there anyone here who disagrees with the sentiment of the above statement and would not be able to follow the law? Okay, so we're all in agreement again, right? Some head nods maybe, everyone, we're all on the same page? Okay. So beyond a reasonable doubt, Judge briefly touched on it, and we'll briefly touch on it too, just to support the things you've already heard. It does not mean that you have to be 100%. And juror number, what's your juror number? Juror number 14, to the best guess, putting you on the spot here, no wrong answers. Why do you think the law does not require you to be 100% certain?
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
You probably won't have all of the facts.
You may not have all the facts. Juror number 14, right now, in this very moment, if I go and punch my co-counsel, are you 100% certain that that crime happened? You would be, because you were here. But someone in the hallway, even if that person heard from everybody in this room, they probably wouldn't be 100%, right? Because they didn't see it happen. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Juror number, and does anyone disagree with that sentiment or that statement? Again, you don't have to be 100%, because if you're 100%, you're likely an eyewitness and you'd be on the stand. You wouldn't be in the jury box. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes? Okay. So this is obviously picture of a puzzle, right? Some pieces may be missing, but we're all under the same impression that is a puzzle. The questions you have to ask yourself are, do I have a doubt? Is it reasonable? And does it go to one of the elements? Now, again, I just told you what the law is. Does anybody here say, Zach, I hear you. I understand the law as you've laid it out, and I don't care. I'm going to make you prove this case beyond all doubt. I need to be 100%. Does that apply to anybody in this room? Anyone? Okay, no trap doors, like Judge said. No wrong answers. Let's talk briefly about evidence, okay? I have never seen an episode of Law and Order, so I don't know what that would entail, but I know many people have. So I included in my presentations. I have seen CSI, the old Vegas version. The court process that you're a part of here, this is not like those TV shows. I know it goes without saying, but I'm just trying to reinforce that point, okay? This isn't a 24 minutes with commercials and you're gonna get your answer, okay? Now, back when I was an intern, back when I was in law school, the first trial I ever watched was a 3-week credit card fraud. It was horrible. I don't think I learned anything. It was so uninteresting. But again, just like federal court, state court, we're not on a TV show, okay? Well, let's get into evidence in general. Now, we're talking about crimes against children, okay, but let's take it away from that context real quick, okay? Let's talk about just evidence in general, wherein you have a case of domestic violence, okay? Go with me for this example real quick. Let's say Margie and I are partners. This poor individual is the victim of all my hypothetical crimes, even in the office. I come up here and I punch Margie in the face and maybe I hit her nose, right? And so her nose is kind of bleeding. Let's say no one's in the room. Everybody's out of the room. I punch Margie in the face. She's bleeding a little bit, but she grabs some tissues. Maybe she's able to kind of stop the bleeding a little bit, but we work together. So maybe she's really scared to say anything. I don't know. So she's going to wait a week to say anything about me. She wants to make sure she's not going to run into me at work. Maybe she's got a vacation coming up, right? Okay. It was a room in a closed door. None of you saw it. Nobody was there. What kind of evidence would you expect in a case where I punched Margie? Any guesses? Juror number 4. What do you think? Putting you on the spot. I apologize.
Picture?
Maybe a picture, and maybe a picture. Maybe if she talks to an officer a week later, maybe she has some bruising still. Is that where your head was going a little bit? Okay. Maybe a picture. Maybe a selfie. Maybe after I punch her, I run out of the room and she immediately takes a selfie, right? Okay, fantastic. Thank you, juror number 4. What about you, sir? Juror number in the red?
11.
Juror number 11, what do you think? In the case I just gave you, what kind of evidence would you expect?
Like you said, a picture or maybe a statement.
A statement from Margie.
Yeah.
Because if she gets on that stand, if she gets up there in a criminal trial and goes under oath, her testimony under Texas law, her testimony, that is evidence, right? So you as members of the jury panel would be able to consider that, okay? Thank you. Juror number, was it 11? Thank you. Juror number 17. Medical. Maybe she goes to the doctor afterwards, okay? Juror number 17 is taking us down an interesting route. Let's bring it back to alleged crimes against children, okay? Let's say there's a sexual assault that happens and the victim waits a day, a week, a year, kind of what we talked about earlier. Let's say they wait a day, a week, a year to report the sexual assault, okay? What kind of evidence do you think would be in a trial of that nature? Juror number 33.
There would be any documentation from talking about this crime or reaching out for resources relating to this crime?
Potentially so. Okay, thank you, Juror. And let's say this isn't a sexual assault. Let's say this is a touching. A touching. So someone touches a minor, okay? What in a case like that, right? Not something again that you would see on a TV show. In a case like that, what kind of evidence would you expect for a one-time touching? Juror number 48.
Witness when somebody walked in and saw it.
Maybe someone walked in and saw it. If nobody walked in and saw it, what then would you think?
The same touch, but start aggressively touching them. It could be bruising, but then I'm thinking, if assault's a part of
Yeah,
the offense.
sure.
The aggressively touching the person.
Potentially so. They may not bruise if it was not aggressive. If it was just a one time, they may not bruise at all, right? Any other thoughts here? Juror number 47. Let's talk.
They maybe have saved that article clothing.
Sure. So let's say juror number 47, let's continue with that train of thought. What if that individual showers or does laundry or whatever? DNA is a real finicky concept, right? Very hard to kind of nail down and pin down. Would you still expect that to come up in a trial if there was a delayed outcry? Okay, for a touch? Potentially not. Okay. Does everyone kind of see where I'm going with, right? A lot of these cases, certainly in our experience, you have things that happen much later in time and you don't have the ripped bed sheet. Even in the case of me punching Margie, you don't have the bloody tissues if she waits a week, right? Because if she waits a week, some, benign potential janitorial staff took out the trash. They're not there, right? So it doesn't mean it didn't happen, and you have all those things to consider. And I know I'm making a fine point here, but does it make sense what I'm saying? If there's a delay, we're talking about touching, even in the case where I punch Margie in the face, if she waits one day to tell somebody what happened, those bloody tissues could be gone, right? Or she may take a shower, right? So you could have all kinds of things that impact and influence the presence of DNA in the real world. Does anybody have an issue with that? And more specifically, would anybody in this room require the state to bring you DNA or scientific evidence in a case involving a crime against a kid, a crime against a child? Okay, juror number 30, thank you. Does anyone else agree with number 30? They're saying, Zach, I'm going to require it. I need you to bring DNA or scientific evidence. And without it, I don't care what you do, I'm not holding anybody potentially guilty. Does anyone agree with that? Anyone at all? Okay. All right. Now, as jurors, right, your job is to determine the credibility of witnesses, okay? What they say, how they say it. Let's talk about trustworthiness. All right, how many people have, how many parents are in the room? Just quick raise of placards. Oh, I have a lot to work. Okay, juror number 58. How old are your kids/kids? You have one? I'm sorry?
3.5.
3.5, okay. I'm gonna go a little bit older, but thank you, juror number 58. Does anybody have teenagers? Oh, juror number 50, man, you raised that card pretty quick, okay. How many kids do you have?
Excuse me. Yes.
Got 3 girls. I got an 18-year-old, 16-year-old.
Okay. Can you tell when they're all three daughters? Now, across any of the 3 of them, can you tell when they're being truthful or maybe when they're being, when they're lying to you?
Yes.
Okay, who's the easiest to read?
That'll be my youngest.
The youngest. And what makes her easy to read?
She'll start back. Smart.
Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate your input. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Anyone else with teenagers? Anyone else? Juror number 7.
Yes.
How many kids do you have?
A 17-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay, let's go to the 17-year-old. Can you tell when he or she is lying?
Generally,
Generally, and what kind of things could you look for?
well, when she's bad at it.
I love that. What makes her bad at it?
I. They make eye contact, kind of looking around, lots of other details that she hasn't thought of yet.
Sure. Okay, I'll take that. Let's get one more parent in the mix here. Anyone else, parent of teenagers, number 23?
Yeah.
All right, let's get, how many kids do you have?
I have 4.
You have 4, okay.
I have 3 girls, 1 boy, ages 29 to 60.
Let's go to the 16-year-old. How can you tell if they're being truthful or not?
He, no eye contact, fidgety,
Okay,
and the story changes every time.
okay, story changes every time. Thank you, juror number, was it 23?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about kids and let's talk about their reactions. Okay, again, we're talking about crimes against kids. Do all kids react the same? A lot of head shaking, no, absolutely not. Are you juror number 12 or are you juror number 10, ma'am? Yes. You number 12?
Yes.
What do you think about how kids react? Do you think it's usually consistent across every kid or is it different across every kid?
I would say it's different.
And why do you believe that?
Kids are raised differently, different circumstances in the home, at school,
Sure.
people are different, so kids are people.
Kids are people, kids are different. Maybe for one parent, if the kid doesn't make eye contact, they can know they're lying. But maybe one kid never makes eye contact with anyone ever. Maybe, I know personally when I was growing up, I may have gotten in more trouble than I think I deserved because I would usually smile and laugh when I was in trouble. It was a nervous thing. I didn't know what to do. My sister, right, the perfect child, she just took her punishments like a champion. Not me. I like to smile, I like to laugh, and it was hard growing up sometimes. But does that make sense, right? Maybe I'm not like some of your kids. Maybe I am like some of your kids. Any parents with kids that maybe smirk or whatnot when they're in trouble and you know it's just kind of a nervous thing that they do? Is that, yeah, some head nods? Okay. We briefly talked about getting on the stand. Again, the witness stand. Whoever takes that witness stand, they go under oath. That is evidence that you can consider in the kind of first phase of a guilt innocence phase of a trial. Do you expect all kids to testify the same? Who has thoughts on that? Mr. UT Polo, what's your, are you number 9?
10.
Juror number 10, what do you think about that question?
I wouldn't expect them to all testify the same.
And they're different people. It could really span the gamut on how they present on a witness stand, right? Maybe some kids are great with dates. Maybe some kids are terrible with dates. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Anyone disagree with that? Fair? Okay. The note here, in addition to that, let's talk about family members, okay? In certain cases, there's a potential that a family member would take the stand, right? So maybe Margie's sister works at the office with us. And she is down the hall and I punch her in the face. And lo and behold, the sister was actually walking by. Margie's sister saw the whole thing happen. Let's say that would be kind of a miracle to have an eyewitness to a crime. But let's say that happened, right? Margie's sister hypothetically could take the stand, right? She saw me punch her. They may be related. But how do you think parents in general, let's say they believe the allegations, let's say there's an allegation of sexual assault and a parent chooses to take the stand. How would you expect a parent to be on the stand? How would you expect a parent to act up there? Any juror number 46? What do you think?
I think more biased towards the child.
Potentially biased, okay. Do you expect a parent to be maybe really calm, really angry, really of both, really it depends? What do you think?
I think it just
depends.
More so, maybe.
Maybe angry. And do you think that anger would potentially be just, if they believe their child, do you think it would be justified or not justified? It is justified. Okay. But you're saying it could be any, am I correct in understanding that it could really kind of be any range of emotions?
Yeah.
Just like we talked about, every kid is different. Adults, the same thing applies. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Does anybody disagree with that statement? No? Okay, but we get the kind of, everyone is different, kids, witnesses, parents, everybody, you could get any range of emotions. Juror number, what's your number? Juror number 57, what do you think about that? You agree or disagree? Kids, parents, eyewitnesses, anybody can get on that stand and testify differently. There is no consistency or constant across individuals. You agree with that?
All right, so if you all are not in the 3 rows, you need to stand so the court reporter can hear.
I was gonna say it, but I was gonna. But thank you for answering the question. We do appreciate it. And again, crimes, these things happen behind closed doors, right? We have a chief here at the office that is famous for saying that these crimes don't happen on the 50-yard line, right, at a Dallas Cowboys game, right? They happen in private, right? They happen when no one is around. Is everyone in agreement with that? Does that make sense that these things would happen behind closed doors? Yeah, okay. And actually, let's go to that real quick. Why do they happen behind closed doors? Why do you think? Anyone? Juror number 6. Why do these things happen behind closed doors? It's easier to hide. Absolutely. Juror number 60, what do you think?
I would think because I guess the person doing it like secretly knows that it's like wrong, so they don't want to get like caught.
Absolutely. They know that it's wrong. In fact, a lot of times, in fact, every time, let's say other contexts, every time, right? The perpetrator picks their victim, right? So if you're going to pick your victim, you're also going to pick the setting it happens in, right? Does that make sense to everyone? And you might as well pick a setting where no one's going to be around.
5 minutes.
Right? And I'm not saying no one's in the house or no one's in, I'm talking about no one's in the room, right? That makes logical sense. Anyone disagree with that? And thank you, Judge. I appreciate it. Okay. We're going to do a quick run through of this question. There's 2 answers. You're either a number 1 or you're a number 2. If you're neither, we ask you to just please identify with the number that most closely aligns with your beliefs. You're either a number 1 or a number 2. The number 1s, a child makes up a completely false allegation about abuse. Do you think that's more common, or do you think number 2 is more common? That a child denies being abused when they actually were, okay? So you either believe that they completely make up false allegations, or they deny being abused when they actually were. Who are my number 1s? Any number 1s in the room? Number 45? Number 58? Any other number 1s? Anyone else? Okay, and then quick show of hands, who are my number 2s? Okay, thank you. So we're gonna do one of my final couple questions here with the time I have left. Again, you're either a number 1 or a number 2. I believe a child would tell when and if they're ready. Those are my number 1s. We're talking about outcries. Hey, something happened to me. So I believe a child would tell when and if they're ready. Or you're a number 2. I believe a child would tell right away. Basically, the second it happens, they would tell. How many of y'all are my number 2s? How many of you think that a child would immediately tell? Who are my number 2s? Anyone? Okay, who are my number 1s? I believe a child would tell if and when they're ready. Okay. And to go along with that, when we talk about outcry, now I want you to raise your placard, okay, and keep it raised for this next question. How many of you, either yourself or someone you know, okay, we're not getting into specifics here with my final 2 minutes, yourself or someone you know has been a victim of a sexual assault? It could be a touching, it could be something. Okay. I want you to keep your placards raised if the person that outcried, be it you or someone else, I want you to keep your placard raised if it took you longer than a week or took them longer than a week to tell someone. Okay? Let's go longer than a year. Meaning it took longer than a year for them to finally say what happened to them. Okay. This is really for y'all's purposes. There's a lot of placards in the air, okay? You can put your placards down. The purpose of that is to show that it depends on the kid. They may say something 2 days later. They may say something 2 years later. No matter what permutation, no matter what option they choose, no matter when they're ready, it's your job as a potential member of the jury to judge their credibility, to take the facts as they are, to take the kids or the family members as they are. Does that make sense to everyone? That makes sense. Does anybody have an issue with that? Does anybody disagree with that or think that's incorrect? Anyone? Okay. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, counsel, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Once again, my name is Sylvia Cavazos. I am a former prosecutor. I would sit at this table at one point in my career for the first 10 years of my career. I've been a lawyer for 27 years. I do, of course, live here in San Antonio. I practice in both state and federal court. And so, first of all, I'd like to thank you in advance for your attention and all of your answers and y'all being very honest with us, because at the end of the day, we would like to select 12 jurors that can be fair and impartial. And although I understand the nature of this type of case is not comfortable, and we don't agree with anyone who conducts themselves and engages in this kind of conduct, we need jurors that are going to be fair. And these are the kind of cases where we have, sometimes you do have false accusations. So I want to thank you in advance for your cooperation. Now, it is my job as Mr. Sierra's attorney or any other clients that I have and cases that I try to, I have to make sure that I'm protecting their constitutional rights, because anyone that's accused of an offense, has constitutional rights. And so that is my job. And so I ask that throughout the trial, those of you who are going to be the lucky 12 that will be selected, that y'all take that into consideration, because if I was your lawyer protecting your rights, you would want your lawyer to do their job, object to when they need to, and of course, follow the law. All of y'all downstairs took an oath, right? I remember taking the oath. Basically, serving, on a jury is a big service, and we're very thankful because the criminal justice system would not work without you. Here in the United States, we have, of course, jury trials. They happen in municipal court, state court, and in federal court. And we need those jurors just like y'all. And as the judge mentioned, it doesn't come that often. And so when it does come, we do need you for this to work. The criminal justice could not work without you. Now, y'all have heard about the presumption of innocence. Yes, anyone accused of this offense or any kind of offense, of course, is presumed innocent. And not until if at jury deliberations, y'all believe that after listening to all the evidence, the state has proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt, then of course, y'all will come back with the appropriate verdict. If they've proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt, then your verdict will be guilty. Absolutely. Anything short of that, then of course, they have not met their burden. Okay. And so they are required, since they're bringing this case before you, to not just give you some evidence, weak evidence, things that you might ponder, maybe it did happen, possibly it did, it could have. That's not at that point, that's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's some evidence, but it didn't raise it to beyond a reasonable doubt. And so a lot of these courts in the whole United States, the state's not able to meet their burden. And verdicts come back not guilty on very serious offenses, even leading up to, murder cases, capital murder. And it, so it's doable, it's possible. And as much as we don't like these allegations, the evidence may not be there. The state may not be able to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. I know a lot of the hypotheticals are assuming that the evidence is there. But you haven't heard any evidence yet to know where are we on the spectrum of the burdens of proof. And I'm going to talk about that with you. Now, there's different levels and different levels of proof. And so I'm going to discuss that and put it kind of just to give you the big picture of where those burdens lie. Now, I'm going to use that wall on my left, okay, as the lower end, and over on the right here, beyond a reasonable doubt's on the right side, okay? So I'm using this whole courtroom length. Now, over on this side, the lowest level of proof, okay, and I'm not gonna assess a number, 10%, 20%, okay, we're not, because there is no number. But over on this end, okay, and I'm sorry, my back is y'all at times, but the room is set up this way. Over on this side, it's reasonable suspicion. Okay, so if you have enough proof to give you reasonable suspicion, then of course that would be on this lower end. And an example is, I know some of y'all are educators, you have your jury card, and so I noticed a lot of y'all are educators, and I'm glad that it's, I guess, summer for some of y'all, so we got to have you here today. But at the schools, sometimes you have to search a child's locker, the student's locker. Let's just say someone claimed that, Danny has marijuana in his locker. And so one of the administrators or teachers finds out. And so, of course, we talk to the principal and assistant principal, and they have, with that information that they gain, they have reasonable suspicion, okay, to believe that there might be marijuana in this person's locker. And also for the safety of the kids, they're not making it beyond a reasonable doubt, oh, we're not gonna search this locker, right? So that's the lowest level of proof. So we move over a little bit more, and again, I'm not accepting a certain number. And the next level of proof is probable cause. Have y'all heard of probable cause? On TV, you get arrested, right? The officer has probable cause, right, to believe that you're maybe speeding or even driving while intoxicated. And so again, in order for someone to be sitting right here at the counsel table, accused of an offense, all that's necessary is probable cause. You see how we're still at the low end of the burdens of proof, the levels of proof. That's all that's necessary. Do you know how quickly you can get put behind bars? It's an accusation by someone. Just words, an accusation. We will never know why. We may never know why someone would accuse someone else of doing something that never happened. Or their motive, we may never know why. But that's how quickly you can get arrested. The officer believes he had probable cause based on someone's statement. They don't need to gather evidence of any kind or talk to other witnesses or get DNA or scientific evidence. No, just a phone call to the police, and this is what they're saying happened, and bam, you're behind doors because, barred because there's probable cause. So at that point, y'all feel that that's really fair, right? Is that too premature, do y'all think? Without having any evidence of something so serious? Okay, but it happens. Okay, so the indictment, the charge that was read to you, and the elements were put up on the board back here, those are just allegations at this point. And all that existed was probable cause in order for a person to get indicted in a felony case. Okay, so let's move over another level of proof, because there's 5 levels. And and I know the room is a little off a little bit, but let's just pretend this is called the bar, that this is in the middle, okay? And so we're in the middle here, okay? Pretend this is like 50% right in the middle. So at this stage, right, and now we're sort of getting over to the right side, is preponderance of the evidence. I think it's more likely than not that it might have happened. The scale tipped over just a little, 51 versus 49%. You're swayed a little bit more on this side. Like I'm gonna, vote for you because I believe this a little better than that side, right? But you're still not sure. We're not at that end beyond a reasonable doubt, right? And so that's all where you're at that point. 59 versus 49%. The scale is tipped, and that's where we're at that point. Okay, not anywhere near beyond a reasonable doubt. So we come over a little bit more. Again, no percentages or numbers are assessed. And now this level of proof is clear and convincing evidence. Okay, so you see how it's getting a lot higher. Clear and convincing, as the judge explained to you, you know, for a child to be taken away from its mother, do you believe that whoever, you know, the state is, or the accusers or the people that reported you for, you know, neglecting your children or what have you, they're gonna have to have a lot of proof. Would y'all not think that if they're gonna take your child away, right, from a mom, it's very hard to take a child away from its mother. They're gonna have to have an abundance amount of evidence, enough so that the court can believe by clear and convincing evidence, I need to take this child away from your home. So that happens a lot on civil cases. And so even then, you know, and so again, we won't apply that in our case because it's not a civil matter. But still, in that situation, the level clear and convincing is higher than preponderance of the evidence, probable cause, and reasonable suspicion. And so the final stage is at this law beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is the highest burden in the entire nation. And why? Why would y'all think that for someone that's charged with a criminal offense, the burden must be beyond a reasonable doubt? Why? Does anyone think that that's why the burden is that high? What will happen to the person that is convicted beyond a reasonable doubt? What's going to happen to them? Is their freedom going to get taken away? Possibly. Okay, they'll be put behind bars, possibly. Okay, a lot, you know, your life's going to change, possibly, right? I mean, that's a very serious, very, very serious consequence that will happen. But that's the law. If the state is going to bring a case against someone, they better have that proof beyond a reasonable doubt, because if we're right here, we're not going to take away their freedoms and do this to that person. If we're further down preponderance of the evidence and you're just leaning one way or the other, we're not going to do that to someone, right? The United States, we have these rights, right? These are your rights. And if it was you or a family member, then it would matter to you. And I know y'all aren't connected to this defendant, but that's when we feel it more when it hits us close to home, right? We wouldn't want that for anyone, not even a family member. Okay, preponderance, excuse me, probable cause, right? That wouldn't be enough to send someone to prison right off the bat because the cop has probable cause or reasonable suspicion. Absolutely not. And so I want to just stress to you, and I know the government, excuse me, the state just touched on that a little bit, but it's actually a big subject in any criminal case. The burden of proof is a big subject and something that everyone should understand so that you can know how to apply it when you go back to deliberate at the close of the trial. And the court will, the court is also the judge, and will also give y'all instructions later before y'all go to deliberate, and even, you know, throughout the trial and things. You're not to make a decision short of being done with the trial. And so, you know, the court will ask you to hold your opinions and things and just kind of absorb everything as the trial is going and see how you feel at the end. And y'all will go back and deliberate and decide. Okay. And speaking of that, because ultimately when y'all go back to deliberate, the 12 that are chosen on this panel, you know, y'all will ultimately go back and discuss and decide. You'll talk about the evidence and, you know, y'all will basically deliberate. And when you're back there deliberating, we don't believe in bullies, right? Anybody here believe in bullies? Right? We're against it. So there's no bullying in the back. Why? Because each and every one of y'all is an individual, and all of y'all have different feelings towards certain things. And you may even disagree with each other while you're back there deliberating as to how strong evidence was or was not, even if you all heard the same evidence. And so, and that's okay, because you are each an individual person and no one can force you to make a decision. or, oh, it's 5 till 5, we want to go home. Let's just, you know what, I'm just gonna lean their way because I want to go home, right? Someone's life is at stake here, right? And so what you believe is what you believe. And that's why also the law is that it has to be a unanimous verdict. Because they don't just say, well, if 2 or 3 people believe beyond a reasonable doubt, bingo, he's guilty. That's not how it works. That's how valuable that right is, the constitutional right to have a jury. Okay? A jury, when you've been accused of an offense, and that a jury, only if it's a unanimous verdict, will that verdict stand. And so 12 people, you know, it's so hard to even have like 2 people decide on like maybe what to have for dinner, right? Sometimes with friends or whatever, you're like, I don't know where we're going. That's just 2 people. Or maybe a household of 4. What do we all want? Pizza, burgers, whatever restaurant. Okay, so it's not that easy. And so that's why we value you as jurors. When y'all walk into the room, we stand up as if you were the judge, because you will be the triers of fact in this case. And we know that that job is not easy. You know, when y'all walked in, some of you might have thought, well, what did he do? I wonder what he did. Not, I wonder what he's been accused of. And we tend to do that. I wonder what he did. You hear the offense, you look at him ugly, right? Because look what he did. But it should be, look what he's been accused of. Because right now, that indictment's only an accusation, because you haven't heard any evidence. Okay, and so we tend to do that. I'm not going to ask how many of y'all thought when you came in, what did he do, right? But it should be, what has he been accused of? Because it's only an accusation right now. Now, has anyone here ever been accused of something they didn't do? Raise your hand or your cards. Ever? Have been accused, whether it's in a workplace, at home, with your siblings, even when you were younger. Okay, you know, raise your hand. Have you ever been accused of something you didn't do? Okay, it looks like a lot of people, and some are like in between, I'm not sure, right? Okay, and it doesn't have to be this kind of accusation, just in case you weren't sure. Okay, so in general, how did it make you feel when you were accused of that one thing that you know you didn't do, but you were accused? How did it make you feel? Number 17. Yes, very angry is what he's telling me. Anyone else has ever felt that way? If you've been accused of something you didn't do? And it doesn't have to be a crime, it's just something that you didn't do. Number 25.
Gaslit my ex-girlfriend, so.
Okay, thank you for your honesty. Okay, thank you. Yeah, and obviously, you know, was it true? How did it make you feel?
Gaslit.
Gaslit, no, I just said it, just like it is, okay. Anyone on this side? Number 60. Can you send that to me? Yeah.
On the spot, I can't really like think of it, but I imagine I would be, you know, upset. Excuse me, something like that.
Okay,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that last part?
I'd be upset if they accused me of something I didn't do.
okay, someone had raised their card here, number 48. Yes, definitely, especially in the criminal aspects, or even at work, right? Sometimes you have coworkers that accuse you of something that you might have not done, or you know how you treated that customer, right? Or depending on your workplace, but it can also be offensive. Like, how dare you think that I would do that, right? I wouldn't cheat this customer. I wouldn't do this, right? Someone else raised their card quickly.
And also confused.
Yes, you're trying to figure out, why did they say this about me, right? And that actually happens a lot, especially in these kinds of cases. Number, did you raise it? 28.
It makes you want to grasp at all the facts that you can grasp at, so you can defend yourself against it and try to show why it's not true.
Yes, you try to figure out why, that's why, I know the state is alleging certain dates. It's like that indictment that has those dates that gives you an on or about time is to give you notice, right? You've been accused I need to know when this supposedly happened. I need some dates on or about, okay, fine, maybe it's not a particular date, but then you go back to your calendar, what if you were on a trip, in Paris or something? What if you were not even here during that time frame? What if you were in Iraq, right? Serving our country and someone's accusing you of something that happened when you weren't even around. Or you weren't on break over here in the United States or something. You kind of do need to know what dates they're talking about to defend yourself, right? To figure this out. Why are they claiming this about me? Okay, does that make sense? You kind of need to know a time frame, later with a witness testifying, anyone who was present or could have possibly seen something, then that's why that person, he has a constitutional right to be confronted by his accuser. You don't just get to call the police, make a report, and they're in jail. It doesn't happen that way. You need to come up if we're going to have a trial and you testify and tell the 12 jurors what allegedly happened. And then even then, it doesn't mean, okay, good, he goes to jail because you said it. You have to evaluate the credibility of that witness. And like we do in our own lives, we evaluate credibility of people all the time in everything we do on a daily basis, really. And so it doesn't require a special skill even to be on the jury panel, because it's things that we do on a daily basis. Maybe not this offense, right, itself, but just evaluating people. Are they believable or not? Does that make sense or not? Are they changing their story or not? Just like when the state was telling you, there's sometimes inconsistencies, and you will evaluate that as you would in your own lives, right? So that's important here. And at the end of the trial, you'll decide if with any problems that existed with the trial that you weren't certain about and you didn't feel like that was, I'm not sending someone, potentially to prison if it doesn't meet beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay. And a lot of people are falsely accused and we don't know why. I mean, even movie stars, right? Even people that are popular aren't excluded from accusations. And of course, their motives could be different, of course, right? Financial, they'll get paid or something. But, do children ever lie to get out of trouble sometimes? Yeah. Okay. So again, what if we don't know what was going on in that household? And all of a sudden, well, let me blame somebody who I know, nothing's going to happen. I can just blame him, right? We don't know what's going on in that household. What kinds of trouble that person was getting into. And now, let's switch gears and now I become the victim. And it's okay because nothing's going to happen. It's someone that's harmless. Nothing's going to happen. But I'm at least not in trouble. Okay. Kids sometimes do that. And even siblings, right? In your own home. I have a brother. And growing up, it was just us two, and we're 2 years apart. And I was the older one. And we fought all the time. Just because kids do that. And it's silly things, but you do. He's now a retired lieutenant colonel. And he's taller than me and bigger and everything, but I still mentioned how I used to beat him up, right? And we would, of course, try to get out of trouble sometimes with our parents climbing trees when we weren't supposed to. The limbs broken, what happened? We don't know how it got that way. And then, of course, blaming each other and things like that. Kids do things, they lie to get out of trouble. And sometimes they're so far in that you cannot change your story now, which could bring us to a trial. So these are things that you'll, of course, you're going to go in with an open mind. And once you hear everything at the end of the trial, make your decision, and we leave it in your hands. And we, at the end of the trial, have to respect your decision because y'all are the triers of fact. Y'all are the judges in this case. Okay, and so we respect that. Now, some of y'all have children, right? Y'all raised your hand in your card. You mentioned your kids and everything. The reason that we keep talking about children is because this is, the type of cases is that this is, it's involving a child. And so, do y'all think children that say younger than 10 are more likely to lie than children that are, you know, older than 10? Or does it make a difference? Anybody on the second row? Number 22. You think a younger child is more inclined to lie or an older one? Okay, all right. And so, so again, and I'm glad you said that because there's not just, you know, a rubber stamp answer because everyone is different. Okay. Now, if a person, like, let's say, you're talking to your children with, well, what happened outside, right? With whatever happened outside. And they're not sure. And they keep changing their answers.
5 minutes.
Thank you, Judge. And they don't remember. And you'll hear those kinds of comments like that. You're not getting straight answers because, you know, they don't remember a lot. Okay, does that sound like it's real convincing? Did that sound very convincing to you? With something, okay, now let me discuss with some kind of sexual conduct that might have happened. Would that be important to have some information, further information and details? Yes. I see a lot of y'all nodding yes. And so again, you'll decide and you'll evaluate whether that's sufficient for you to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that this happened. Now, we discussed the range of punishment. Now, how many of y'all have insurance in your cars? Okay, all right. For the most part.
Well, wait a minute, let's make sure.
For the most part. Yes. Okay, the majority. Okay, now, do y'all get insurance in your car just in case an accident happens, right? Right? Is that the reason we get insurance? Okay, and so that's the same thing with the election of punishment. We have to turn into the court what's called an election of punishment. In the event that it goes to the second half of the trial, then of course we have elected to have a jury decide punishment. But that does not indicate, it doesn't mean that we're going to get to the second half. And so I just want to make that clear because earlier I think it sounded like, you know, we've decided that that's what's going to happen. The jury's going to decide punishment. And so it may not get to that second stage. Okay. And that's why we're having this trial, hoping that we don't have to go to the second phase. Okay. But it's just like insurance. We have to select it prior in case we need to go to that second half of the trial. If it ends at the first phase of the trial and it's a not guilty verdict, then everyone's finished with their service. We all go home and continue with your, you know, daily lives. So I want to just thank you again for your time and attention. Thank you.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is what is going to happen. I'm going to have you all step outside. I'm going to bring you all back. Let me have parties approach. Excuse you all for lunch. You need to be back here at 1:45. We cannot continue unless everybody is back here at 1:45. Does everyone understand? We had an incident once where a juror forgot time and they were just along the Riverwalk, enjoying their day. So I want to stress to y'all, your jury service is not finished. You need to be back here at 1:45. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna be lined up outside at 1:45. Look to your left. Look to your right. That's your jury buddy. You need to make sure that the person who's sitting next to you is in line behind you. That way we'll know. There are plenty of places to eat lunch. You can walk along the Riverwalk. Of course, it's going to be pricey because it's along the Riverwalk. But I think you have a Whataburger, other places, upper level or street level. Everyone leave your numbers behind, and I'm going to have you take your personal items with you. So remember, what time are we coming back? All right. And if some people decide they want to stay around, you can stay around the courthouse, but make sure that you have your jury sticker on so that people will know not to discuss cases around you, because sometimes attorneys will talk to each other about different cases. The other thing, you'll have to stay outside the courtroom until we call you back in. If you are staying in the courthouse and you need a restroom break, restrooms are usually crowded, but if you find a stairwell, whatever floor you go on, a restroom is going to be on either side of that stairwell. So that way you'll never get lost. And so what floor are you on? What's the court number? Who's the judge? And what time are we going to be lined up outside? All right, thank you. Everyone, please rise for the jurors.
Please don't take your number. I'll call you.
Yes, please leave your numbers.
They're hard to get.